Today on Call for Two, a quick spoiler-free review of Murder & Co.'s Voodoo Dolls, a long-form cold case game with a story. What's not to like? Stay tuned to find out. Okay, some facts first. I kickstarted this game in 2024-25 for about $110 with help from the Patreon supporters of this channel. I have no relationship with the company. Murder & Co. are known for prop-heavy, expensive games. This is my first experience with the company. It is still available for sale, but at $100, this is actually one of their cheaper sets. It's a 3-part narrative cold case game, and you can watch our 10-hour playthrough on YouTube. Probably take you closer to 3 hours to play through. Let's start with some facts here. This is a cold case game about a murdered undercover police operative. It's set in a modern day sort of New Orleans town. There is a minor tie-in with Voodoo, but not too much. I do want to show you some of the documents here. I'm going to show you it's broken up into 3 acts. I'm going to show you the first act documents, nothing you wouldn't see on your first opening of the box. But if you're really a stickler for spoilers, you could use the timestamps to jump ahead. Now it's a fairly heavy box, but I'll get to why that is at the end. Each of the 3 acts comes with documents and then a brown bag of a totally useless prop. So there's 3 sets of these, 3 pairs of these. Maybe 80% of the weight in this box is one large ceramic container that arrived to me predictably completely shattered. So 80% of the volume in this box and weight is due to one totally useless prop that arrived completely broken, and even if it wasn't broken, there'd be no use for it. In the first act, here is the prop you get: a magnifying glass with the crocodile alligator in a little bag. No relation to your case at all, of no value to your case. Just a very expensive metal heavy prop. On the other hand, the documents in this first part are really quite impressive. So we've got a contents and welcome, and then we've got a whole bunch of documents. Now let's just take a quick look at the quality of these. We've got an investigation report, like an autopsy, double pages, some photos, some notes that continue. You get these as you play. More information, little brochure, quite well produced. More evidence, more documents, a newspaper, phone records, documents. Very authentic looking documents here. A folded up piece of paper, more notes, more documents. The documents here, here's a rental receipt. I mean, some of these documents are very well done. Little fingerprint set. Again, very well produced, authentic looking stuff. As you saw, the document quality here in these envelopes full of documents is actually very high quality. Whether it's the brochures or the, even better, the sort of authentic police reports and autopsy reports are very well done, and they feel real. And I am a big fan of the long-form cold case games, so I am the right audience for this longer multi-part cold case game. The other thing that's good here is the sort of adult details of some of the crimes here. This is not for kids. There is some death here that's sort of uncomfortably brutal. So that part of this game is promising, but the wheels really do come off this cart fairly quickly. The first problem, as I talked about when I was opening the box, is how ridiculous the props are here. Now, I had a little bit of an idea going into this. I mean, this company makes some $300 sets, and when they show them off in photos, they're really featuring these props very prominently. But this was just more than even I imagined in my worst case scenario. As I said, 80% of that box, 80% of the weight and volume is this one ceramic sort of water bottle that there's no way this could get shipped in the mail without that breaking. There's no padding, anything. And it's just insane that you would be paying that much for the shipping of this thing that you would have no use for. No one's going to want this. I mean, you can go check on the website, but it's just crazy. And then all the props are as pointless. And almost entirely removed from the case. They just serve no purpose at all but to take a game that could otherwise have been put in a manila envelope and force it to be put in a large, heavy box. But that's not the worst part here. The really worst part, the inexcusable part, you could make the case that there's some audience that wants these ridiculous, pointless props. But if you watch our playthrough, you'll see how badly things broke when we tried to use the website. You do have to use the website to put in answers, and there's some really inexcusably broken elements to this website that caused really undue frustration. And I advise you, if you do play through this, boy, stop when you start to use the website. Stop. Don't try to put in answers. Spend some time understanding all the things that are broken about that website that are going to mislead you into some real frustration. Then another place where this game really goes off the rails are the questions that get asked for each of the 3 acts. It's a very common system in these kinds of multi-part games where you get a question that's supposed to focus your attention. Like for this Act 1, here's what you have to identify. And typically it's things like rule out one of the suspects or figure out who's lying about this. In this game, the questions were so weird and silly and could be answered, they almost all could be answered with a single line on a single document that wasn't particularly hidden or didn't require any deduction. It's more like something like, what was the murder weapon? And you just go and look, and when you find the one document that says the murder weapon was a 6-inch knife, so you type in 6-inch knife. Bizarre that all of the questions have that form, but worse. They were worse than that. They were more like, what's the time of death down to the second? And you're just looking at the report that gives you the time of death down to the second. It's very weird stuff. And I don't really understand what the logic there is. It's almost like you really have to be careful not to play this game according to the rules that the game is giving you. If you really want to enjoy this, you're better off sort of ignoring those questions and just trying to understand the documents and the basic information. And then at the end of the case, we're asked questions of a slightly different form, but they're bad in a different way. They're sort of asking you to solve the case, but you're not going to be given enough information to really solve it. You may come up with the answer it wants of you, but you're not going to have the evidence to prove it. So it's going to be a very unsatisfying end there. And then all of a sudden, after you answer it, there's the most minor of epilogues and explanations, which is exactly the opposite of what you want in a game like this. The longer these games are, the more you expect a satisfying narrative out of them. And here that's failing on all these points. You don't really care about the characters. You don't really care about the victim. And at the end, there's almost no effort made to explain anything and to give you a wrap up of your story. There are some small internet components here. They're not, other than the website, they're okay, but they don't play a big role. But boy, if you're looking for a satisfying narrative, you're not going to find it here. And overall, the real strong impression I got is that there's two tracks going on here. There's the team that made the documents, which are quite well done, and then most of them are not used at all and are not important and are wasted. It really feels like a lot of wasted effort went here. I don't know if it's one of these things where once it came on Kickstarter, so I don't know if once it got funded, all the money and time drained away, and they said, why should we bother making this a great game? We've made the money we're going to make during the funding period. What's the point in trying to make a better game? But huge disappointment here. So for me, a rating of 4, that's a 4 without even considering the cost. But I think once you consider the cost, boy, it's hard to think of anyone to recommend this to. And I'm sorry to say that, because I am a fan of these long games and I'd like to see more. And I think the team with the documents, creating the documents, shows real promise here. But I think someone has got to spend more time on the story and the narrative and the puzzle to make these games worth it, and maybe stop with the ridiculous 5-pound props. All right, let me know if you disagree with me, and I'll see you on the next video.